What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios. We're 1 week away from the midway point now, Bryan. You know, these teams are really starting to separate themselves from the pack. Just, an action-packed week in week 4, man.
Yeah, big week 4 across the valley. Some teams in district already, Ivan, and other teams battling just for bragging rights there in non-district play. And we'll start off, man, with our week 4 recap. And as always, that takes us to our week 4 game of the week. And Ivan, you had a good one between some top-ranked teams here going down at the 6A level.
Yeah, you had an unbeaten Los Fresnos team coming into town to take on I think they were number 5 at the time, the number 5 PSA High Bears. And, there was a rain delay on Friday. We got some rain across the upper valley, so the game got pushed back an hour, and that didn't seem to kind of deter the Falcons. First play of the game, they take it 75 yards for a touchdown. It's Diego Torres, and PSA High tied it not long after, but then another big run by Los Fresnos put them up 14-7. That's Robert Pineda, 74-yard touchdown run. So big plays
time,
early on, but they take the 17-7 advantage into the half. But then something just woke up in the Bears the second half. They outscored Los Fresnos 33-7 in that second half.
Wow.
Behind a big game from Miles Lopez and Ryan Vallejo. Lopez with over 450 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions too. That's even more impressive. He threw the ball 56 times and not one picked off. I mean, that's impressive in its own right. And then Ryan Vallejo, 21 receptions, 244 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Just huge games for those two to mount that comeback, and they beat Los Fresnos 40-24 in the RGV Sports Game of the Week. And games like that come with recognition. So those are our players of the week again this week. Miles Lopez and Ryan Vallejo, huge games for them. We talked about it early on this year. Lopez having those weapons outside, and it seems like he's found that connection with Vallejo this year. I think that's their 6 touchdowns on the year. He's their leading receiver in the Valley right now as well. Just huge numbers from him, and I think it's only going to go up from here. And then, you got to talk about Los Fresnos' junior quarterback. He struggled through the air, 7-17 for 60 yards. He did throw a touchdown there at the end, but on the ground, over 200 yards rushing and a touchdown. He did his part to try to keep this team in the game, but that PSA offense just proves too much in that one.
Yeah, I wish I had that stack in fantasy football. Miles Lopez to Ryan Vallejo. Can't go wrong there, man. Big week for the Bears.
Definitely.
And, it's that old cliche, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And, hey, man, those two deliver, and they deservedly earn Player of the Week honors. So big win for PSA High there in week 4 in the game of the week. And we had another matchup, Ivan, of some really good teams here in the Valley. In District 16, 5A D1, they opened up district play last week. Edinburgh Vela visits the Mission High Eagles at Tom Landry Stadium, and Vela opens up with a 17-0 lead, man. And, and they just they opened up on them quick, and Vela coming off that win against Harlingen, they looked exactly like they did against Harlingen, man, just rolling on all cylinders. But then in the second half, Mission's able to climb back and make it a 24-13 game at the half. And then in the second half, both defenses just really shine. Mission scores 1 touchdown late. Diego Salinas hits Christopher Kirk on a long pass. But it's not enough as the Vela defense gets a stop to hold on to that 24-21 win. Mission shuts out Vela in the second half. Vela, they didn't give up anything in the second half until that one. It was about a 32-yard touchdown pass from Diego Salinas to Christopher Kirk, and really good play. And both these teams, man, I think they are District 16 5A D1 title contenders, and it showed. It was a dogfight. Edinburgh Vela does enough and takes care of business. It wasn't their prettiest performance. I know that they weren't happy with it, but hey, man, you got the job done. You're 1-0 in district, and you're leading that district title race against a really good opponent there in Mission. Jonathan Flores, 130 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and Juan Garza, another rushing touchdown for the SaberCats in the win. Thomas Aparicio and Diego Salinas with rushing touchdowns for Mission, and then Salinas, of course, connected with Kirk for that second half touchdown. But Vela improves to 4-0 with a 24-21 win over the Mission Eagles. Ivan, and back to you, man. What was another game that really stood out to you?
Speaking of 4-0, how about those Brownsville-Paced Vikings? 4th straight win to start the year. They take down Edinburgh Economides 31-17. And you see these two teams, they're teams you're not used to seeing succeed. They've struggled in the past, but they both came in undefeated. So, people expected a good one, and it was. Brownsville Pace did pull away, and I think the game plan for Economides was slow down Adrian Salcedo, the Valley's leading rusher. He had over 200 yards in his first 3 games, and I guess if you look at the numbers, they held him in check. But 148 yards, 2 touchdowns, leads that team to a win again. The kid's a workhorse. He's getting it done for them, but you know, it's huge for this Brownsville Pace team to find that success. You know, Brownsville's had a history of struggling with football. You know, people know them as a soccer town, but these football programs seem to be on the rise around there. And, you know, this is their best start since 2011. Give a shout out to the defense, too. 7 sacks on the day of the Economides quarterback. I mean, just an all-around performance from Pace to hold off the Jaguars and improve to 4-0 on the year. Just impressive. And, you know, got to give a shout out to Adrian, man. That kid's going off early on, and he's been one of the top backs in the Valley this year.
Yeah, big matchup between 3-0 teams entering that one. Only one improves to 4-0, so congratulations to the Brownsville Pace Vikings on picking up another win. And then, Agent Sauceda, hey, if 140 rushing yards is a slow day, we'll take it, man. I think a lot of teams will take 140 rushing yards. Moving back to, as we mentioned earlier, some teams in district play, District 15-5A D1, Ivan, Westaco East, PSG Memorial. This district, it's a 9-team district. 7 of the teams made the playoffs a season ago, and Westaco East and PSG Memorial, both playoff qualifiers. They meet here in week 4, and man, this was just a dogfight. And Westaco East wins it 23-22 in overtime. They get both teams score in overtime. Westaco East has the ball first. Margarito Pompa scores on an 8-yard run to the left. They kick the extra point to go up 23-16. PSG Memorial answers back with a 31-yard touchdown on a 3rd and 13 from Ryan Reina to Robert Morales. Kind of just threw it up in the end zone. The receiver, Robert Morales, came down with it to send it to 23-22. And then PSG Memorial, Coach Littleton, they said, hey, screw it, man. We're going for the win. They went for it, and, man, they came up short on a run with Emi Colunga to the left. Westaco East defensive back Ramiro Carrera comes up and stops that from the cornerback position with a tackle for a loss to secure the 23-22 overtime win for Westaco East. And Westaco East, man, they improved to 4-0. We've seen them shoot up our ranks in these recent weeks. But I came away obviously impressed with Westaco East. I've seen them the last 2 weeks. Super impressive. Their defense is solid every year, and they're just going to run the ball down your throat for 48 minutes. But PSG Memorial, man, they played aggressive from start to finish. They were in position to win the game. Coach Littleton did everything they could to give them a chance. They scored a touchdown. They were leading 16-8. After they go up 16-8, they kick an onside kick, recover to give themselves a chance at more points. Unfortunately, a missed field goal and then a turnover on downs in the 4th quarter keeps them short of points. But man, this PSG Memorial team, they did everything they could to win. They played aggressive all game long. They stuck to their guns in overtime. They come up short, but hey, man, they put it on the line. You know what I mean? So I came away impressed with this PSG Memorial team. They show they can hang with Westaco East. So we'll see how PSG Memorial can respond going forward in Westaco East. They enter their bye week feeling good, coming off a hard-fought overtime win. Now, Ivan, back to you, man, for some more Week 4 action that stood out to you.
I mean, let's keep it in Wesleyan, man. How about them Panthers now? 2 straight wins now. They started 0-2. I think some people might have written them off, but, I mean, if you look at their first 2 losses, they took Harlingen Week 1. Week 2, they take on a really good McAllen Memorial team.
Yep.
So 2 losses to start the season, but now it seems like they're starting to find their groove. You know, they go on the road on Saturday. I think the only team in the Valley playing this Saturday.
Yep.
And they go to Laredo and take on the Laredo United team that went to the playoffs last year, 3rd-round playoff team. You know, and it was a tight one. Wesleyan High, you know, down to the wire. Quarterback Frankie Trevino, who's also the kicker, he kicks a 31-yard field goal late in the 4th quarter to give Wesleyan a 24-21 advantage. And then Laredo United's driving. Here comes Chris Luna, Mr. Do-It-All athlete for Wesleyan High with the game-sealing interception to seal the victory there on the road. And just, you know, I'm impressed with this team. They lose their star running back from last year. Their starting quarterback's gone. Just a lot of holes. You know, Frankie Trevino stepped in there. You know, he's had some issues with interceptions, but I think he's done a good job there. You know, kind of established himself as the guy there at quarterback. He threw for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns in that win over Laredo United. He also had 80 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And what about Chris Luna, man? That kid, you know, he played DB mostly last year. This year, he's kind of seen both ways, mostly receiver, but 4 receptions, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns in that win, and the game-sealing interception. The kid's a baller.
Big time.
One of the top players in the Valley, without a doubt. I mean, he's going out there and making plays for his team. You know, I think the biggest question for Wesleyan was this year, who was going to step up? Last year, you saw Eli Rodriguez take that mantle, become the star player there. This year, Frankie Trevino and Chris Luna, they're building something special there. And you know, these Panthers just seem to be on the rise. So, again, Wesleyan High takes down Laredo United 24-21. improved to 2-2, and now they're going on the road against San Benito this week,
Yeah.
or at home actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do, man. To slide into the quarterback position, to make that change, and to put up, not just make that change and score some points. I mean, Westaco's putting up points every week.
Definitely.
They're competitive, and I mean, we all thought, oh, they're not that 10-0 team from a year ago, but hey, man, the Panthers are still pretty damn good this year.
Yes,
so
sir.
yeah, good to see Westaco pick up a road win over Laredo United in a big one on Saturday. That one had a college football type feel too.
Oh, yeah.
I was tuned into the broadcast. So congratulations to Westaco on that one. And then Ivan, to wrap up our Week 4 recap, Rowe started off 0-3. We know what happened in the offseason, man. The tragic loss of senior linebacker Adan de la Cruz. Just a tragic loss, and that program starts off 0-3. They're in close games, man. They have a chance against Harlingen South in Week 1. That they're competitive, and they've been there. And now it comes time, District 16 5A D1 opener, and they're down 17-0. And then they come back to win 21-17. The Warriors pick up a win over Palmview in dramatic fashion on their home field. First win of the year, and 1-0 in district. That's what matters, that district record. Sammy Liguez, 2 rushing touchdowns for the Warriors, and Adrian Boteo adds another one. They needed a fourth down stop late. Palmview was up 17-14 and had a chance to run out the clock with the first down. They're facing a fourth and one at their own 42-yard line, and they fumbled the snap. And they recover, but they're not able to get that yard. So Rowe gets the ball back at the 42-yard line. They march downfield, and Sammy Liga scores that game-winning touchdown. They hold off Palmview, who gets to midfield and attempts a last-second Hail Mary as time expires, but it falls incomplete. So big win for the Rowe Warriors. Congratulations to Coach Flores and all that team, man, for battling back and winning that one in comeback fashion to improve to 1-3 on the year and 1-0 in district.
Not to mention, Palmview was undefeated going into that one too. So
Yeah.
big win for Rowe.
Yeah, big win for Rowe. They got to be feeling good after that one.
Definitely.
And as they move forward there in 16 5A D1. So Ivan, with our Week 4 recap wrapped up, we'll move on to this week's RGVsports.com football rankings, breaking down our top 10 5A 6A teams, top 4 sub 5A teams, and our Coastal Bend top 4 teams, Ivan. And there's not much change with our number 1 and 2 teams. Ivan, PSG North is on a bye. They're 3-0, so they hold on to that top spot. They've looked good this year. One thing I want to note about PSG, and we'll get into them a little later, we know how good that PSG offense is. You've seen them up close.
Definitely.
And this PSG North team held them to 11 points in Week 2 in a rivalry win. So just that just says everything about this PSG North defense. They're competitive, and they're gonna have to buckle up their chin straps this week, man. They got a big test, which we'll get into this week. Edinburgh Bella, they stay at number 2 after that big win over Mission High. Yeah, it was ugly, but man, the SaberCats are still as good as it gets here in the Valley. So 4-0, and then Ivan, we touched on them earlier. PSG High makes a jump in our top rankings. Just your thoughts on the Bears and what they've done to look like one of the top 3 teams here in the Valley.
I think they're starting to really find their groove. Miles Lopez is starting to get comfortable in that offense. You know, the job Coach Lupe Rodriguez is doing there with that team. And that defense, yeah, they allowed 24 points against Los Fresnos. A really good Los Fresnos team, though. But the defense buckled down in that second half. I mean, you didn't see those big runs anymore. They were over-pursuing early on. And, that defense has some solid playmakers back there, so they're one of the top teams in the area without a doubt.
Yeah.
And, you can't really knock them for their one loss. They lost to arguably the top team in the Valley in PSG North and, held it close for, compared to what some other scores are when you play PSG North. So the Bears are for real. They're here, and, they're gonna make a shot at that district title and possibly even a deep playoff run, man.
Yeah, PSG High is a really good squad. They play PSG North really close, man. PSG High, as good as it gets here as well. Then our number 4 team, Westaco East, Ivan, they continue to shoot up. They were number 7 last week. They're up to number 4 after holding off a really good PSG Memorial team. Three of their games have been won by 1 possession. They beat Mission. They beat Sharyland. Both those teams are very good. You've seen how
Yes,
good
sir.
some of those offenses are with Diego Salinas and Calvin Harris leading Sharyland. Both good offenses. Westaco East wins 2 one-possession games over those guys, wins another over PSG Memorial this past week. So Westaco East, man, they enter their bye week feeling good. coming off that win, and our number 4 here in the Valley in the 5A, 6A level, Ivan. And then Harlingen High, Ivan, they come in at number 5, and I think they had what looked like a baseball score in their week 4 matchup. Excuse me.
Yeah, man, it was ugly to say the least. It wasn't a pretty game. You know, the offense struggled. I think maybe 200 total yards of offense, but they got it done. You know, their kicker kicks 2 field goals, including one in the fourth quarter, to get a 6-5 win over Laredo United South. I mean, you said it yourself. It looks like a baseball score, and you know, Noah Huerta was held in check for the most part. 73 yards, no touchdowns, held out of the end zone for the first time this season. And
that's not easy to do.
Yeah, not easy to do. But that defense looks solid. The offense, you got Noah Huerta. It's just we go back to we've been saying is that quarterback position. You know, Jonas Serna didn't have himself a bad game. He completed 10 of 16 passes for 96 yards, but they need to, I think, move more consistently if they hope to compete and really cement themselves as one of the top teams. They're definitely up there.
Yeah.
They're just got to find that little groove in the passing game, I think, and then they'll be all right. But at the end of the day, they got the win. They're 3-1. It was ugly, but they got it done. At the end of the day, win's a win. It doesn't matter how you got it, and that's all that matters. So Harlingen High at number 5.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I mean, defensively, they gave up 3 points.
Exactly.
So it's like, shoot, man, I'll take that. Shoot.
Exactly.
And then you keep it going, man. Our number 6 team is another one at the 6A level.
Yeah, those Fresnos came in riding hot. I mean, they had 3 straight wins to start the year, and they just ran into a very tough PSJ High team. But that's not to take away from them at all. I mean, they got some playmakers there on offense. I mean, that quarterback's as real as it gets. He's mobile. He's electric. He's going to make big plays for you. And, the Falcons are they're still very much one of the top teams in the Valley and a district title contender in that 32 6A. It's not going to be easy. You got Harlingen, you got Brownsville Vets, you even got San Benito. Yeah, they're 0-4, but look at their schedule. Look who they've been playing. So it's not an easy test, but, I think Los Fresnos will bounce back well with this one. They're experienced. A lot of these guys are juniors that have been playing since their freshman year, some seniors that have started since sophomores. So they got that experience. I think they'll bounce back nicely. They have another tough test this week, against a team that's cracked our top 10 that we'll get into in just a beat. But that's number 6, Los Fresnos. They moved down 3 spots after the loss, but like I said, still very well deserving of a top 10 spot nonetheless.
Absolutely, and that takes us to our number 7 team, the McAllen Memorial Mustangs. They pick up a 42-0 win over Rio Grande City to jump up from number 10 to number 7. They improved to 3-1 on the year. The Memorial Mustangs, who we'll get into in a bit, previewing their Week 5 matchup, I mean, they look good, and they have a shot to compete for that District 6 and 5A D1 title. And Ivan, our next 2 teams, number 8 and number 9, new members to our top 10 this week. We'll start off with that number 8 team who you touched on earlier, Brownsville Pace, 4-0. They come in at number 8 to make their debut in the top 10. Just your thoughts on Pace and their 4-0 start.
I think this team is legit. I mean, yeah, we get a lot of talk about Adrian Salceda. He has almost 900 yards. I think he's at 845 for the year. But let's not take away from that passing game. Junior quarterback Ian Solis, 582 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. I mean, you don't want to just stuff the run because they got a quarterback back there who's more than capable, and he's got receivers that are more than capable of getting it done. Tight end Ricky Martinez, 3 touchdowns. Junior David Melendez, over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. So they got some weapons in that passing game. I think they're a legit squad. They run a lot, but don't sleep on that passing attack, and they can get it done. I think they're going to be a contender in that 16-5A D2 district. They got a ways to go. Obviously these games aren't going to mean anything in the long scheme of things. It's what you get done during district, but they're setting themselves up for a successful year this year. And 4-0, you can't keep them out of a top 10 when they've won 4 straight and done so pretty convincingly, in my opinion. And moving on to our number 9 team, a team from 31 6A. I don't think many teams expected this team to start 3-1, but the Edinburgh High Bobcats are on the rise. They move into our top 10 for the first time this season, coming in at number 9 with that 3-1 record. And, the Bobcats, I don't know if it was injury or what the reason was, but they start a sophomore, Aiden Sanchez at quarterback. It's not easy starting against an Ed Couch-Elsa defense that we've seen has been one of the top in the Valley, but he goes 10 of 13 for 145 and a touchdown. He did throw 2 interceptions, but I mean, like I said, that defense has, I think, 12, 13 interceptions this year already. So
yeah, they got some players.
Not an easy start, but to go in there and get the win, huge for the Bobcats. And, just exciting to see that program on the rise. They've struggled, we know about what happened years ago, but, that Bobcat program is definitely on the rise. And 3-1 though. Last year I remember they started 1-4, ended up going 4-1 in district and making the playoffs. This year it's been a complete turnaround. They're 3-1 to start non-district play.
Yeah.
So exciting to see what they can do down the stretch.
Yeah, good start to the season for the Edinburgh High Bobcats. And then coming in, Ivan, we have two teams rounding out the top 10, tied for the number 10 spot. The head coach, Elsa Yellow Jackets, who lost against the Edinburgh High Bobcats in a close one. And then the Mission High Eagles, who are 2-2, coming off a loss against Edinburgh Vela. But, hey, man, they gave Vela everything they could handle, 24-21, had a chance to win it at the end. This Mission High team is for real, and they can hang with a lot. They can play some really good football. They got some real dudes on that team. So that takes us to our sub 5A top 4, Ivan. Our number 1 team, or last week's number 1 team, slides down to number 2. Brownsville St. Joseph suffers their first loss of the season on the road against Austin Regions, who was a really good team there at the TAPS level. So not much to knock them for, but Port Isabel jumps them up. Port Isabel, who's number 2, leaps them from number 2 to number 1, even though Port Isabel was off last week, or they had that game canceled against Hidalgo. So those are number 1 and 2 teams at the sub 5A top 4. And then Santa Rosa and Santa Maria both pick up wins here in week 4 to improve to 4-0 overall to round out the top 4. And Ivan, our Coastal Bend top 4, those top 2 stay the same. It's been that way, I think, since the beginning.
Yes,
Corpus
sir.
Christi Miller and Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, numbers 1 and 2.
And then you got Corpus Christi Vets coming in at 3, so Alyssa Midway at 4. I think the top 4 stayed kind of consistent there. All pretty good teams. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty consistent. I think these have separated themselves from the pack from the rest of the Coastal Bend area without a doubt.
Yeah, and now that we're entering district play here in the Rio Grande Valley, you're going to see some of those teams locking horns with Rio Grande Valley teams in District 15 5A D1, which we'll get into right now as we start our Week 5 preview, Ivan. And as always, we'll start breaking down and looking ahead to the rgvsports.com Week 5 Game of the Week, and that features the Mission High Eagles against the McAllen Memorial Mustangs. This one starts at 7:30 p.m. Friday at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium in McAllen. And I expect a good one, man. I think both these teams are evenly matched. Both these teams have shown a balanced offense. Mission High with quarterback Diego Salinas, he's up there in the top 10 in passing yardage here in the Rio Grande Valley. They got a good running game with Thomas Aparicio, and then they got weapons that they got multiple weapons that you can't really key in on one guy because they're all 4 capable in Christopher Kirk, Shelby Satal, Jared Castro, and Yandel. So these teams, this Mission High team is really good here, and they'll visit McAllen Memorial, who has shown we know how much this McAllen Memorial program likes to run the ball, but this year, man, quarterback Kane Coy, receiver Michael Alanis have shown a connection. Alanis ranks in the top 5 in receiving yardage here in the Valley, and he's just a big play guy, man. I think he has 7 receiving touchdowns so far this year.
Oh, wow.
He's just a big play waiting to happen. So when Memorial does go through the air, that's probably who they're looking for, and that's a hard combination to stop. And then in the backfield, Jaden Solis and running back Braxton Spates. He's the younger brother of Trevor and Campbell Spates. He's off to a good start. 300 all-purpose yards, 6 touchdowns here early in the season. And then Jaden Solis has over 200 yards there rushing. And they've done this with their leading rusher sidelined in J.P. Garza, who returns to action in Week 4 for Memorial. So McAllen Memorial gets a little boost off that with him back in the lineup. So now they got good quarterback, good receiver connection, and now they got 3 really good backs that you'll have to deal with in the backfield. So expecting a good one between the McAllen Memorial Mustangs and Mission High Eagles, District 16 5A D1. And with Mission already 0-1 in district, this is kind of a must-win for them if they want to compete for a district title. They got to win this one. McAllen Memorial, they got to hold off Mission, and then look ultimately down the road. You don't want to ever look ahead, but you know Vela's in this district. So it's Mission, it's McAllen Memorial, and it's Vela. Those are the 3 teams that should be the favorites. And right now, the winner of this one can take a step in the right direction with the win Friday night in the RGV Sports Game of the Week. Ivan, and that takes us to we'll break it down to you, man. I mean, we got some really good matchups going on across the valley at the 5A and 6A level. Ivan, just what's the game that you're looking forward to here?
Yeah, I mean, it starts Thursday with the top 10 matchup between number 6 Los Fresnos and number 9 Edinburgh High. You know, potential playoff preview. You know, 31-6A going against 32-6A. You know, Edinburgh High is closing out their non-district slate at home against Los Fresnos at 7 p.m. Thursday at Richard Flores Stadium, and it's a pair of top 10 teams. You know, Falcons are coming off their first loss of the season, so I'm sure they're hungry to get back on the field and prove that, you know, we're still the Falcons. We lost, but we're ready to bounce back. And then on the other side, you got Edinburgh High back-to-back wins, including that win over Ed Couch-Elsa last week. And, you know, we mentioned already sophomore quarterback Aiden Sanchez. I don't know if he's going to get the start or they're going to go to JT Santa Maria, but they got two weapons back there.
Yeah.
Then you got junior quarterback Robert Pineda, you know, trying to get his team back on the board. So that should be a good one, a pair of top 10 teams. It's at Edinburgh High. I think it's Edinburgh High's homecoming too, so a little more to play for. You know, those games you want to win your homecoming. You want to, you know, it adds a little more reason to win. So huge, you know, top 10 matchup there to start the week on Thursday at Richard Flores Stadium. And I mean, what else you got for us, Bryan? I mean, there's some big games across the valley for sure.
Yeah, as we kind of alluded to earlier, Coastal Bend versus RGV this week. It goes down. Corpus Christi veterans makes a trip down to FAR to take on the PSG North Raiders. That's our number 1 5A 6A team here in the Rio Grande Valley against the number 3 team in our Coastal Bend top 4. And Ivan, I mean, these two teams played 2 years ago in the Region 4 5A D1 final for a shot at the state semifinals. Corpus Christi veterans won 20-14. PSG North lost that game, ended their season, and this PSG North, I'm sure Corpus Christi veterans does too, but this PSG North team still has some players from that team who suffered that loss and fell a step short of their goal. Now these two teams meet in district play. Corpus Christi veterans comes in 3-1. They're 2-0. They're coming off a big win over Donna North last week, 77-0, and they beat Brownsville Rivera the week prior, 37-0. So Corpus Christi veterans looking good coming into this one. They lost their only loss season opener to Miller, which Miller's as good as it gets here in South Texas. So that's nothing to knock them. They're 3-1. They beat Carroll too. So this Corpus Christi veterans team putting things together here as they come in to take on a PSG North team that will have had 2 weeks to prepare for Corpus Christi veterans. They're coming off their bye. And this PSG North team, man, I mean, they look good. They beat San Benito in week 1, take down a really good PSG High team in week 2, 21-11. And then in week 3, they go up against Donna North and come up with another big win there, 58-0. So, yeah, man, Coastal Bend heavyweight against the Valley heavyweight. These are the big dogs, man. I'm expecting a good matchup between these two, and I'm looking forward to it. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. Thursday at PSJA Stadium in FAR between the Corpus Christi Veterans Eagles and PSG North Raiders in a big-time matchup that I think a lot of people from the Valley and a lot of people from the Coastal Bend will be keeping tabs on, even if you're not a fan of both programs. So, yeah, big-time matchup there going on in 15-5 AD1. And back to you, Ivan. What's another one you're looking forward to this week?
You know, you got number 3 PSGI. They're trying to close out non-district play with their third straight win. But coming into town, the Brownsville Veterans Chargers, you know, they're coming off the second loss of the season, dropped a close one to Laredo Alexander. And, you know, you got 2 different styles of offense here. You got Brownsville Vets. They're going to run it down your throat. They're going to try to tire you up. Meanwhile, you got PSG. They might throw the ball 60, 70 times a game. You don't know. But, you know, it should be a good one, I think. I think the 2 styles of play tend to, you know, create an interesting matchup between these teams. And, you know, you got fullback Cesar Melmontes over from Brownsville Veterans. He's rushed for over 100 yards every game. He's leading that Chargers offense. You know, they have a tendency to just find a new guy in the backfield. 2 years ago it was Brian Chavez. Last year you had Gilbert Trillo, Alvin Trevelyan. Trevelyan's still there. But now Cesar Belmonte's kind of taking that lead back role. On the other side, you got quarterback Miles Lopez, over 1,200 passing yards already through the first 4 games, you know, averaging over 300 yards per game. And, you know, these 2 teams have met the last 2 years. Vets won in 2022. They blew PSG High out 59-14. But last year, PSG won 31-21. They beat a team that went to the, you know, I think it was the 5th round last year. So should be a good one there at PSG Stadium. That's this Friday at 7 p.m. I'll be out there with the coverage. And, You know, two of the top 6A programs in the Valley. Another potential playoff matchup. It seems like we got a lot of those this week.
Yeah.
You know, and like I mentioned, PSG High, their goal this non-district slate, when I talked to Coach Lupe Rodriguez, was go undefeated. They dropped that game to PSG North, but I mean, 4-1 doesn't sound too bad going into district play. So meanwhile, Brownsville Vets, they're trying to get back on that win column. So should be an electric one there at PSG Stadium this Friday.
Yeah, that should be a good one there. So two really good games at PSA Stadium Thursday, Friday night.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to those. And then some other games that we'll quickly touch on, rounding out our Week 5 preview. Edinburgh Economides at Brownsville St. Joseph, Ivan. Edinburgh, both these teams were 3-0, both of them coming off a loss. Only one will get to 4-1, man. And we know Edinburgh Economides has had a turnaround, that surge, Ivan. And then we know St. Joseph, I mean, although they may be small in numbers, they're a really good squad there once you get in between the lines, man. So Economides and St. Joseph, just your thoughts on that matchup between those two.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got Economides. They have tons of great, runners back there behind, from the quarterback to their two running backs. They have weapons back there. And then you got St. Joe's who, they got weapons. You mentioned they're small in numbers, but they're going to show up to play you every week. Doesn't matter who you are, how big you are. If you line up 80 guys, they'll line up their best 20 on the sideline and get ready to go head-to-head. So should be a good one. Coach Tino's always got those boys ready to go, and I'm sure they're ready to get back in that win column after that loss to Regents last week. So another exciting matchup there between a pair of 3-1 teams here in the Valley. Both coming off losses, like you said. So I'm sure they're both hungry to get back in that win column. And just some other games, you got Ed Couch at PI. Ed Couch coming off their first loss. PI had a unexpected bye week last week, but you got Ed Couch's defense versus a run heavy offense in Port Isabel. Luis Ramos, only 3 games, but he's still in the top 5 scoring in the Valley. Number 6 in rushing, that's in 3 games. So PI's got weapons there, so it's going to be interesting how those two styles clash and to see if that PI offense can keep rolling against this tough Ed Couch defense. And that's just another big game. That's 7:30 Friday at Port Isabel. Some other games, you got Pace at Roma.
Yeah, that's another one that we're looking forward to, man. We talked about Pace, man. The agents, we recapped their win over Economides, talked about them breaking into the top 10. They're 4-0, and Roma would like a chance. Hey, man, we can to take a little bit of their shine, you know what I mean, as they say. So Pace plays on the road at Roma. Roma's 3-1. Their only loss this year was against a Palm View team, so Roma has been able to put things together and, really get rolling here as they're rounding out non-district play. So another winning season looks like a possibility for Roma, which, hey, man, they haven't had many since the start of that program. And, shoot, man, Coach Villanueva has these guys playing some really good ball, and they got some really good players. So looking forward to that one, a matchup between some really good players on both sides for Pace and Roma.
Definitely.
That one is 7:30 Friday in Roma. And with that said, that wraps up our Week 5 preview, breaking down our Week 5 matchups here in the Rio Grande Valley. And we're looking forward to bringing you all the coverage Thursday and Friday night. And you can find all our latest news, stats, and standings at rgvsports.com. Ivan, just what has been, the coolest thing about RGV Sports, man? I mean, rgvsports.com. I mean, you want to know who the leading rusher in the Valley is? Hey, man, go check it out at rgvsports.com. It's Max Prep does a good job helping us out. We rely on them as a good tool.
Sure.
But hey, when you want to see what the best in the Valley are looking like, go to rgvsports.com, and that's where you'll find it. So, Ivan, just your thoughts on what we're bringing to them, or to the football fans here in the Rio Grande Valley at rgvsports.com.
Yeah, from passing leaders, rushing leaders, defensive stats, special teams, it's all there. Just go to our rgvsports.com, click on the football tab, and on the top right corner, you'll see stats, district standings, and click on your team, whatever you want, it's all there. We're here bringing you guys the best coverage week after week, and it's exciting. The website is up and running, and just go check it out, guys.
Yeah, and Thursday and Friday nights, make sure to check out our scoreboard on rgvsports.com. We're constantly tweeting out updates on Twitter, on game nights, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday when Westaco gives us that little college football feel. So, yeah, man, catch everything. You can catch us at rgvsports.com on Facebook, Twitter, at YouTube now. Catch us post-game interviews, this podcast here on YouTube, post-game interviews, highlights, and all that good stuff, and some volleyball stuff as volleyball is in full swing here in the Rio Grande Valley. So this has been another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you next time.